In today's video, we are going to be painting a tutorial from my book, A Watercolor for Relaxation. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, basically anywhere online. And it's a book that is full of tutorials of botanicals, animals, fruits, landscapes. It goes through the basics of watercolor, color theory. But in today's video, we are going to paint the Christmas kind of special tutorial that I made for my book. It's about 5 or 6 steps maximum. So it is very beautiful, it is very magical, and it is very simple. It really is one paint, only indigo, 1 or 2 brushes maximum, and masking fluid, and maybe some salt if you want to add a little bit of snowflakes to it. Really is super simple. So let's just go ahead and jump into the tutorial. As per the usual, I am using Arches watercolor paper, and if you guys have seen any of my other tutorials, I love to just cut down my paper in a very organic kind of way. I don't use scissors or rulers or anything like that. So I just fold the paper in half and just make my paintings in either half of a page or a quarter of the page. So I really like the rough edge of just tearing the paper in half. I think it just looks very pretty. So that is quote unquote the first step. Alright, so before we jump in the tutorial, I want to let you guys know that I have a super fun Patreon exclusive tutorial where I paint all these pretty cards. Don't mind my lettering. I'm not an expert in lettering, so don't look at that. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 different ideas for Christmas cards, and they are Patreon exclusive. I'm not showing them and neither on my social media or obviously on YouTube. So go check my Patreon out. I have a ton of exclusive tutorials for Patreon. But let's jump in the tutorial now for reals. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to use my masking fluid to create my it's like an abstract kind of tree. Like I'm not doing a real tree, but I'm doing like a quote-unquote magical tree. This is a fine line masking fluid that comes in with this tip, so it's just very easy to add details to whatever it is that you're doing, you're painting. So you don't need to ruin a brush, or you don't need to use anything else. It's just like straight up from the bottle. So I'm using the fine tip of the fine line, and I'm making my little start, and what I'm doing is just like a squiggly line that it starts very small and eventually comes down in larger and larger sweeps and creates my tree shape. So now that I am done with the tree shape, I am going to go ahead and add a few dots to make it look like it's snowing, or stars maybe. It's just kind of a little abstract idea. So I am interrupting because I, per the usual, forgot to hit record on the first step of the tutorial. You guys know I have a tendency to do that, and I have to work on it. But this is the first step, basically doing the first wash. So I do a very intense dark wash at the top, and then just a very light wash at the bottom of the paper, and then let the paint flow. So I will add a lot of indigo at the top of my paper, and then let it flow downwards, and it will create a beautiful gradient, which is what I did with the paper that I had drawn, or like I've done the tree with the masking fluid. So I am kind of really obsessed with this idea of letting the paint flow, and it creates beautiful natural gradients like you see on the painting that we're actually doing. So now that we're back to our original tutorial, where I have my stars and my tree, I am going to do a little bit of further wash. So I'm just adding more indigo to my brush, and the paper in itself is a little bit wet still, so I am still using the same I'm still within the same first step basically, which is just creating a beautiful gradient wash. Alright, so now that we are primarily done with the gradient wash, and the paper is still slightly wet, I am going to grab some of my indigo, the same indigo that we've been using, and I am going to add the background trees. So because the paper is wet still, it's going to be a very blurry kind of tree. So it's going to be in the background, and we are barely gonna see it, but your imagination sort of like sees it in the background. Alright, so while the paper still has a little bit of wetness, I am going to just sprinkle a little bit of salt for an effect of snowflakes basically. So I can see that in my paint, the darker salt little pebbles are the ones that are picking up the paint, and it's going to create a beautiful, beautiful snow-like kind of texture. Okay, so now that we know that the paper is completely dry, you can use a hair dryer, you can let it dry naturally. I personally prefer to dry it naturally. You can just go ahead and remove the salt and see how it created this beautiful, beautiful snowflakes, just kind of very natural shape to them. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my desk, clean my area to keep working and making sure that the salt doesn't get mixed in with any other of my eventual washes or more of the trees. So in this next step, what we're going to do is a second layer of trees. So we're going to use a lot of indigo because we want to have a very high value indigo. So a lot of ink in the same brush, and we're going to create the same shape kind of tree. So just pine trees, like a line down and a whole bunch of wiggly lines. So we're going to go through a process of creating 2 or 3 pine trees for our foreground. Alright, so now that we are done with the trees, we're gonna let them completely dry, and you can see that you can see the trees in the background. Maybe one of them got lost in the left corner, but that is okay. We're gonna start removing the masking fluid. You can do it, I usually do it with my fingers. You can do it with the back of a brush. You can do it with, I think I've seen some people do it with erasers and stuff, but I just like to do it with my fingers. It's the easiest way. So we're just go ahead and remove the masking fluid, and we can see already that it almost glows. It's a very magical kind of tree, and it's just very beautiful. It's a very beautiful effect. Now, this is an extra step that is not in the book, but I think it is even more magical. I am using a white watercolor paint. You can use gouache, you can use watered down acrylic, any white paint will do. So you're just going to add a ton of water so the mixture is very light and liquidy, and that way it falls easily on the paper. So I'm just gonna add snow sprinkles basically, and it'll look like a snowy winter magical Christmas scene, and it's really magical. I really love this tutorial. I hope you guys get a chance to go check out my Patreon for all exclusive tutorials, and go check out my book on Amazon. Check out the reviews. People are really loving this book. It's very simple steps, and it has landscapes again, like this one, and they are easy projects for beginners, and they're very relaxing. They're very just mindful, like mindfulness. That is kind of the approach to the book, where you just like take 5-10 minutes out of your day to for yourself and do little tutorials like this, and go check it out. I will see you guys on the next video tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to give this video a like if you learn anything from the video. If you enjoy the tutorial, don't forget to share, to like, to subscribe. So that is all for today, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Of course, one last thing that I forgot to mention is obviously you can use this tutorial to make a Christmas card, a beautiful Christmas card that you can give to your family or friends. You basically just fold down the paper down the middle, put it on a really cute envelope or a simple envelope. I just have simple envelopes, but it's just such a beautiful card to gift.